boys and girls. Welcome back to our week 4 of Project Parables. We have another parable to learn today, and I'm excited to get into it with you. So as we begin, let's go ahead and get ready by setting up our room to make sure that we feel like we can listen for God and what God might be teaching us, and we can maybe calm our minds and our bodies and be a little bit more still so we can hear from God. All right, so you remember the first thing is we're going to light our candle. So go ahead and grab your candle if you still have it, and mine will be here where you can see it too. So we're going to go ahead and light our candle. And you know, this is one of the things that we use a lot in worship to remind us that God is with us, because we know that God is with us all the time, everywhere we go, right? But especially in these times when we worship and when we learn from God's word, we are reminded that God is here with us. And a candle is a good way to remind us of that, especially when our minds start to wander and maybe we think about something else and we stop hearing what is being taught. Maybe we need to bring our minds back and make sure that we are listening to hear what God might be teaching us. So we're going to set our candle somewhere where we can still see it. Mine's going to go right here. But somewhere that we're not going to touch it during the parable, so that we know if our minds wander, we can just look at the light. Remember that God is with us. Bring our minds back to hear more from our parable. All right. Now the other thing we're going to do is a little bit of stretching, maybe, to get our bodies a little bit more quiet and ready to hear from God. And today, we're going to do a different kind of thing. We've done some movement and some stretching, but today we're going to do a little bit more restful activity. And maybe it'll remind us of our parable too. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to lay down on the floor, on your back, all stretched out, okay? So you can follow me. We're going to lay down all the way flat on our backs, and you can have your hands up to the sky or down to the ground, whatever is comfortable. We're going to take some deep breaths. Maybe stretch out our fingers. And feel like you're getting a little bit heavy to the ground, maybe. And if you have anything you're anxious about, or you're worried about, or you're angry over, this is a good time to imagine that they are leaving your body, maybe flowing into the floor, so that you become a little bit more prepared to hear our parable today. All right, well, let's get a little bit more movement back in maybe our fingers and our toes. And we're going to sit up for a second. All right, and now we're going to bend our knees and put our feet flat on the floor. Let's lay back down. And we're going to pretend now that we're in windmill. We're just going to lay our knees down one way and move them the other way. You can move your head the opposite direction if that's not too complicated. Just gonna move back and forth nice and smooth. All right, last time. And come back to our center. We'll slowly sit up. And now we're gonna come to whatever is a comfortable seat for you, okay? I'm gonna sit cross-legged here. And let's go ahead and grab our parable box. Let's take a look at this box. You know, parables can be tricky. Parables, well, you need to be ready, and you have to be careful with them, or they can break. So you have to be ready when you approach a parable. And this box, it kind of reminds me of a present. What do you think? It's got a lid. Yeah, which makes me think sometimes it's hard to get into a parable. Sometimes it's hard to get into a parable, but that just means that you have to keep coming back and you have to be ready, which is why we set up our room to try and get ourselves ready to hear our parable. And it's kind of shiny, maybe like a present with some wrapping paper on it. Well, parables are presents, you know. Parables are presents for you and for me. Even if we don't know what the parable is, it is still for you and for me. So I think we're ready to open up our box and see what's inside our parable today. Let's see. Here's our first piece. I wonder what this is. What do you think? This is brown. It seems to be all brown. No blue, no green, just brown. And it is kind of scratchy. And it's square. I wonder what it could be. Maybe a brownie? What do you think it could be? We also have this piece. This piece is a little bit softer. It's kind of wavy, like a noodle. What if we do this? I wonder what this could be. Could it be a crack to split this in two pieces? Let's see, what else? We have these two pieces. So let's put them here. Okay, I see. This is a path. It's a road between this place and that place. We also have these pieces to help us get ready. These pieces are very dark. There's no light in them. It's kind of like holding a shadow. Or maybe some rocks. I wonder what those are. I wonder what this place is. All right, I think it is ready for us to begin. There once was someone who did such amazing things and said such wonderful things that people began to follow him. And as they followed him, they asked him some questions. One person asked, "What is the most important thing?" And Jesus said, "You already know." "That's true," he said. "I do know. The most important thing is to love God and to love one another as if they are my neighbors. But who is my neighbor?" And so Jesus answered his question with this parable. He said, "There once was a traveler who was going down from the city of Jerusalem on the road to Jericho. And as he traveled down the road, he was attacked by robbers, by thieves. And they hurt him, and they took everything that he had, and they left him on the side of the road, half dead." Oh my. Well, there also was an important priest from the temple in Jerusalem who traveled down the road to Jericho. And when he came to the place where the man was, who had been hurt and had everything taken from him and been left on the side of the road half dead, the priest crossed to the other side of the road and went on his way. Now there also was a man who worked in the temple of Jerusalem, who went down the road toward Jericho, and he helped the priests, and he took care of the temple, and he helped with the music. He was a Levite. And when the Levite came to the place where the man was who had been hurt, had everything taken from him, and left on the side of the road half dead, the Levite crossed to the other side of the road and carried on his way. Well, there was another traveler on the road going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. This person was a stranger. He was visiting from a different country, a country called Samaria. And the people of Samaria did not like the people of Jerusalem. And the people of Jerusalem did not like the people of Samaria. But when the stranger came along the man who had been hurt, had everything taken from him, and had been left on the side of the road half dead, well, he helped him. He put medicine on his hurt places, and he wrapped his cloak around him, and he placed him on a donkey and traveled with him to a nearby inn where they could rest. And now the stranger stayed with the hurt traveler all through the night. And in the morning, he even paid the innkeeper enough money to keep the wounded traveler there until he was well, and said, "Whatever you spend, I will pay you back when I return." Well, I wonder who might have been a neighbor to this traveler who was hurt and had everything taken from him and was left on the side of the road half dead. I wonder who was his neighbor. Could it have been this one? Or this one? Could it have been these? Or maybe this one? And I wonder who could be a neighbor to this one? Oh, that might be harder, huh? Could it have been this one? Is this his neighbor? How about this one? Might he be the neighbor? Is this his neighbor? Is this neighbor? I wonder about this one. Who is his neighbor? Is this his neighbor? Are these his neighbors? Is this his neighbor? Or maybe this one? Well, I wonder what this story would be like if everyone here, they were women instead of men. I wonder what it would be like if these were all women instead of men. And I wonder if the stranger who found this wounded traveler, what if this stranger was a child? I wonder. Children often have to go for help if they find someone who is injured, don't they? And that's important because sometimes it's not good to help someone who's injured by yourself. And you know what? Going for help can be a really big help. That can be serving someone. Well, here is our wounded traveler and our Samaritan. Our priest, our Levite, our two robbers, and our donkey. Jerusalem, Jericho, the rocks, and our Jericho road. You know, I wonder what work you will do this week. I wonder how God will teach you this week. I wonder if you will meet a good Samaritan along your path. I wonder if maybe you might be a good Samaritan for somebody else this week. Well, as we go from this place, let's grab our candles and let's remember the question that Jesus was asked that led to this whole parable. Who is my neighbor?